Check this out. Twitter bans far-right extremist group, the Oath Keepers. The company says the group violated its policies on violent extremist group. The first question I have is, Ian, do you know who the Oath Keepers are?
I'm just learning about them today and yesterday.
Do you?
I do.
Do you think they're an extremist group?
They are not.
I don't think so
either.
either.
They're like the 3%ers.
Yeah, I think they're just like, well, I think they've been pushing the rhetoric for sure.
Yeah. Okay, well,
but
they're like middle-aged guys who really want to do something, and this is what they do on Saturday afternoons is the vibe I kind of get off them.
They show up to protests and they walk around, and
I'm not convinced they're going to do anything crazy.
Isn't like the general concept of the group is that they're staunch constitutionalists?
Yeah, I think that's why they're called Oath Keepers.
This is going to be really interesting, you know, because we got problems, man. I'll tell you what. I'm not a fan of people calling for violence. I think we got to simmer everything down, but I've been having conversation after conversation about how the Constitution is Swiss cheese. It doesn't even matter for the most part.
It's a guideline at the very least.
There's, I mean, not even
that anymore.
There's like no penalty for any of these lawmakers proposing unconstitutional laws and getting them passed and then violating people's rights. It's just it's incumbent upon you to sue if your rights were violated.
What's an example of something? Is there anything that stands off the top of your head?
If you want to look, to be fair, there are a lot of things in the Constitution that like rules have been imposed based on Supreme Court rulings. Specifically on the Second Amendment's the easiest one. But search and seizure, it'd be violated every day, okay? Like metadata spying.
Oh, that's really
NSA,
seems weird.
The NSA spying stuff that Snowden revealed, like that's really obvious.
Where the CIA got invented in like the 40s, and that didn't exist when they wrote the Constitution.
I'm going to give a mention to Caitlin Bennett. You know who she is?
She's the gun rights activist from Kent State.
Is it she from
Alma mater, what up? Yeah,
there you go.
Okay, so this video going around today of her, and there's an angry mob screaming, you know, F you and stuff. And the cop says, you have to leave. And she's like, why? I didn't do anything. And the cop says, I can't control these people. So we're going to leave. We'll make you leave because it'll be safe. And then she says, a very good point. If you can't control them now, you're not going to be able to control them even if I leave. And that's true. But this is a really good example. The police straight up saying, we will violate your rights in order to make our job easier. That's it. So the police, they do this all the time. They will they will arrest you, saying you're out of line and you're interfering with police work because the crowd's angry at you.
And this is because they're fearing for their own personal safety.
It's the way I've often described it. If you put a human being in front of a giant angry screaming mob, and they say, okay, I can try and get a ton of officers to stop this mob, or I can just arrest the one person.
Oh, that's a slippery slope.
But that's what they do. That's what
I see.
So listen, this is why I've explained that as the chaos and the calamities escalates, there's a real fear that with these extremists showing up to the homes of mayors and police chiefs, like they showed up to the home of Carmen Best, the Seattle police chief, and the neighbors came out with guns. Eventually, they're going to come to someone's house, and the mob's going to be so large. The people there, like, imagine if a mob showed up in front of our house, and then we're like, what do we do? Call the police. The police show up and see 300 people screaming and throwing bricks and rabble, rabble, rabble. And they're like, oh man, what do we do? And they're like, what do these people want? And they're like, arrest them. They're Nazis. Arrest them. The cops are like, we can't stop them. And they're going to hurt a lot of people. But if we arrest the people in this house, maybe they'll stop.
So the police capitulating to mob justice is unconstitutional.
Of course.
But the police can't do anything about it because they're not strong enough.
A cop arresting you for expressing your free speech rights because other people are threatening you? Right. Like, you're not committing any crimes.
Wait, the cop didn't threaten to arrest Caitlin.
He kicked her. I mean,
did he actually effectively kick her out? And did
yes.
he even have backup, or was he like a security guard?
He removed her.
I had many questions.
And I'd be willing to bet she would have been arrested if she said no. Remember when Ben Shapiro tried speaking at that event? Mm-hmm. And the cop was like, if you cross this line, you will be arrested.
I remember that.
Yeah, exactly. What did Ben Shapiro do? No, nothing. He was going to speak at a college campus. Protesters showed up, started screaming, rabble, rabble, rabble. And then Ben was like, I'm supposed to speak here. And the cop's like, I don't care.
Is it because the cop's job is to keep the peace at a local level? Whatever the national law or state law is, it's the local peace.
I don't know.
Their first priority?
I don't know, man. I don't know if their priority is supposed to be keeping the peace. But I'll tell you this. I have a right to speak. I have a First Amendment right. If other people are committing crimes, the police need to arrest those committing crimes, not me.
And peace can come from, like, subduing who you hate. Like if a crowd goes and wants to lynch somebody, if they get to lynch the guy, there might be peace afterwards. But is that justice?
It won't be though.
Yeah.
Let's be real. If they get away with this like they did with Ben, they will keep doing it, realizing it works.
A tactic, yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, let's go back to what's going on with the Oath Keepers. The reason I bring all that up is they're staunch constitutionalists. They're banned now because they're basically, one of the things this guy tweeted, and I don't agree with it. He said the shots have been fired, the guy who died in Portland, and he says we're going to give Trump one more chance to declare this a Marxist insurrection. Otherwise, we're going to take action or something like that. And so there's very serious questions that are asked among very politically charged groups, even Antifa. At what point are they allowed to have a violent redress of grievances against the government? That's a scary thought.
I think they should avoid doing that. If you study the Russian Revolution at all, this is kind of interesting, calling it Marxist, because when capitalism starts to fail, as what it did in early 20th century, the Great Depression was coming on. Other people look for other methods of economy, and communism was the main one. And so it looks like these people are in a similar situation with COVID shutting everything down, people losing their.
But they've got it better than ever.
Technically, yeah. Literally. Society in general, the poorest among us have it better than the richest 200 years ago, I would argue.
Definitely.
But responding to that uprising with violence, like they had the White Army and the Red Army, basically the monarchs tried to stop the communist uprising by creating a White Army and fighting back against them. So then the communists created a Red Army and fought back against them and just escalated the violence.
Yeah.
So I don't want to relive that.
Who would you rather win, the far left or the far right?
I don't know who they are. That's the problem. It's just extremists are extremists to me.
Well, hold on. The Oath Keepers are they purport that they are staunch constitutionalists.
They don't seem far anything. That's middle of the road.
You think?
I mean, the Constitution's legit.
Yeah,
that's right.
And then you have the far left, which are avowed Marxists and communists.
People that want a Marxist revolution is a little extreme to me. It didn't work It didn't work in Russia. Really didn't work because you have to put somebody in charge of like everybody's property.
Yeah, you can't do that.
If they had like an AI system built out that was going to be like a literal, like everyone had a piece and you could measure it on like a blockchain and see, and no human was involved with like passing out anything. It just came to us. I could see like a technological revolution.
Yeah, but
I'd call it something other than communism.
Who designs the AI?
It would have to be free software. It would have to be agreed upon, voted on, and then we'd have to see the code.
Well, let me tell you something. If there was, I think one of the ideas that the far left has in terms of their goal for revolution is that if they can purge any memory of liberty, then people won't crave what they don't know exists. You know what I mean?
It's true.
Like book burning.
So yeah, right. If right now, actually, have you seen? Let's do some Marvel references. Have you seen Captain America: Winter Soldier? Have you guys?
Negative.
Yeah, I've seen it.
That's the one where the bad guys took the Hydra infiltrated. That's what it is, right? Hydra infiltrated.
I believe
shield?
so.
Yeah. And then they want to have the giant helicarriers just kill all the undesirables.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, they're like, if we kill 3 billion people, those are the ones who cause the problems. Then we'll have a bunch of just like sheeple. I guess they didn't use that word, but the general idea is they think that if you have a society that from birth was raised to never understand concepts of freedom, then they would be happy. Ignorance is bliss. And that seems to be a tactic that they kind of go for. That's why everything they do is a lie. Everything is manipulative. Everything is deception. For me, that's the antithesis of like life, what you're supposed to do, explore, create, experience. And so they want to create a rigid, gray, colorless, cube world where everything's like just.
Have you read A Wrinkle in Time?
Oh man, when I was like 7.
We do not want that world.
What is that world?
That's the gray, colorless, mother brain controlling everything world.
The Borg.
Yeah, basically.
And then you have the Borg queen controlling everything.
Ooh, funky.
It does feel like we're headed towards Borg reality, man.
Well,
are you going to get the Neuralink?
I'm going to let the people that have debilitating injuries test it for 10 years, 5 years.
Kind of like a right to try thing almost.
And if they turn out to be superhuman and have mega access to the internet, yes.
Super cool.
Like the Neuralink people?
Yeah.
So there's an Outer Limits episode about this where everyone is connected to something called the stream. But then like the general idea of the stream is to give people access to knowledge. So they have these brain implants and they don't think for themselves for the most part because they don't have to. They'll be like, there's a door. And then they'll think like it just streams the information right to their brain. So they know where everyone is. They know what everyone is doing. And so there's one guy who's got some kind of like neurological issue where he can't get an implant. He has to read books. He's a normal guy, but they call him disabled because he can't access the stream, right? But then something happens where the stream's goal is to like acquire information and provide that information to people, but everything is information. So it starts creating information where it's like, how many hairs can you pull out of your head? Just like arbitrary.
Oh, that sounds like Twitter.
Because
no, I'm just kidding.
No,
Twitter.
but right. That's kind of what I'm getting to, where you'll end up with a bunch of people. Like you look how bad Twitter is, right? Is it even a bad thing that Twitter is banned? You know, the Oath Keepers in a sense, because like
I don't know why they ban them.
Well, because they were posting things like, you know, the first shot has been fired and whatever.
Well, that other girl was posting all that violent stuff we were talking about yesterday.
Yeah, yesterday.
Yeah, that's a good point.
If it wasn't imminent calls for violence, then I don't think they should have been banned.
Exactly.
What was that lady's
Gotta
name?
look her up. Oh, crap. I don't remember.
I agree with what you say about removing information. I think if someone's in that path, I don't agree with them, whether they're far this or that.
Yeah. You know what I was thinking too? The fact that if you did take liberty away from us within a generation, everyone would have forgotten because people adapt so quickly. This is why we've come up with like word of mouth, like storytelling. This is why we write stuff down and write books and we communicate with our children. It's because we don't want to forget the stuff that happened before us. We stopped doing it. This has happened. And before we know it, we're going to lose all this stuff we worked for.
It's like, have you guys seen Stargate?
Yeah, the movie.
It's like we're just doing movie references tonight.
Yeah,
I guess.
tonight is movie references.
Dude, James Spader's the man.
When they meet the people, they can't write because the aliens realize that humans having the ability to share information and record it allowed them to fight, like realize their freedom and their rights. And so the enslaved people on the other planet are like scared of writing. But because of this, they can't organize properly and fight back.
Slaves weren't allowed to learn to read or write.
That's amazing.
And they had a verbal tradition too.
This is why they ban people from the internet.
Interesting.
Do you think that liberty is a natural human desire?
100%.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Totally.
Then you can never stop it.
Listen. They just banned the Oath Keepers like today, I guess.
I think so. Yeah.
So I made this point, right? We talk a lot about civil unrest, the potential for civil war, and all this stuff. And I hear all the time from the right, they're like, if there's ever a war, we're going to crush the left. Yeah. And they like high five and chest bump stuff. I'm kidding. But they say like the left won't know it hit them because we have all the guns and stuff. And my response is your internet will cut off. You're going to be sitting in your house and you're going to be like, I'm ready. If these people want to take my constitution, I'm ready to fight. And then all of a sudden your internet goes out and you're like, I wonder what's happening.
Then what do you do?
They're all organized now because they control social media. Twitter just banned the Oath Keepers, and they allowed this Black Lives Matter woman who said violence is the only way to stay up. This huge screed about how they have to get violent, and that's allowed to stay.
That's it.
And it's
Those
been
are
up
the
for
weapons.
days. And you have Antifa actively organizing on the platform, and the Oath Keepers gone.
I wish I saw what literally was the thing that banned them. Is that public knowledge?
Let me see if I can
That's
pull it
another
up.
problem with banning someone is you lose access to what it was that got them banned, and then how do you?
That's a good point because then you're like, how extreme are they actually? Because I know that people like to call anybody right of Mao, far right or whatever.
Here, check this out. From
look at
Talking
that.
Points memo. With itchy trigger fingers, some right-wingers predict the next civil war has finally arrived. And they say, quote, the first shot has been fired, brother, said Stuart Rhodes, founder of the armed anti-government group Oath Keepers. I don't think they're anti-government. I think they're constitutionalist. He says, quote, civil war is here right now. We'll give Trump one last chance to declare this a Marxist insurrection and suppress it as his duty demands. If he fails to do his duty, we will do ours. Yeah.
I would contest too that being constitutionalist is being anti-government because the entire point of the Constitution was to constrain not the people, the government.
What that guy typed is legal, but Twitter's terms isn't about what's ever legal in the U.S. That's one thing about Minds is it's like what's legal can do on the platform. So that would be allowed on Minds. But on Twitter, I don't know what their terms are probably different.
And you mentioned, we talked about this the other day, the lady saying violence is the only way or whatever.
Yeah.
And you said that would also be allowed.
It's not imminent violence. It's not saying do this violent thing on this day at this time because then you're calling for imminent violence. That is illegal. So that would come off Minds.
Right. Incitement.
But just saying, let's get dirty, let's kill them. I mean, it's crazy to say that, but it's legal.
Really? Yeah. Wow.
As long as you're not saying, let's kill this person.
What if you said, like, I'm so angry, everyone burn it all down, burn it all down?
Yeah, it's too vague. It's legal.
That's vague.
Yeah.
That's saying burn it all, because you're not
if
telling
you're
them.
saying burn it all down at 2 p.m. on Tuesday is illegal.
Yeah, the courthouse. Yeah, for sure.
What do you mean?
It's imminent. Becomes an imminent threat when you give a time and a day.
If you say, go do this. Right. if you said everyone go out, burn it down, because there was a guy who actually said that, right? Like during Ferguson.
Yeah, I think so.
He was like, burn it all down, just something like that. Thanks for checking out this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. We do the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. So come back to check us out when we go live. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, hit the notification bell, and we are also available on all podcast platforms for free if you want to listen to us there. Thanks for hanging out, and we will see you all next time.